This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Conde.
Welcome to episode 32 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss. David Conde is back as always. And our special guest today is Mike Gulino. Gulino, I'm sorry.
Gulino, yeah.
We should have talked about that.
All good.
It's a good Italian name, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, good. My wife's family is all Italian. So I shouldn't mess those things up. But he's a catcher with the High Point Rockers. They are an independent team in the Atlantic League. He grew up in Meridian, Connecticut, and played college baseball at Pace University in New York. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Thanks for being with us today. We'd like to get started and just kind of throw a question that you don't know. Now they're joking with you. Not to put you on the spot.
Put you on the spot.
But
there you go.
So give us an idea. Always want to know, the fans kind of want to know, where did you learn the game? Who taught you the game? Why did you learn, how did you fall in love with the game? Just give us a little bit of your history, when it all started.
For sure. Like you said, I grew up in Meriden, Connecticut. Started playing baseball when I was probably like 5 years old, playing normal T-ball and stuff like that. I played in my local Little League. It was called Ed Walsh Little League. Played there till I was 12, 13, until I got out of Little League. But my mom played college softball. So growing up, I was always going to like her, not men's league, obviously, but women's leagues, co-ed softball games. So I was always around the game. And just at an early age, I fell in love with it. I would go to summer camps and whatnot, and they would have these baseball camps there. So I started doing that. And I remember when I first picked a baseball team to like, an MLB team, it was strictly off of a towel. So a towel at a camp, and it was a New York Yankees towel. And I said, that's a cool logo. I like that team. And then, later down the road, my dad went to school in Northeastern in Boston. So he grew up a Red Sox fan. So then that was always back and forth. But he was more of a football guy growing up. But yeah, I went to Maloney High School. Played baseball and basketball growing up as a kid. And then when I got to high school, I started playing football a little bit. So I tried to stay a 3-sport athlete while I was in high school. But I loved it. I didn't really like an off season. I didn't want to go home after school and do nothing. So I was like, let me just play this sport. Let me play this sport. Let me play that sport. And I think that helped overall, just being with my athleticism and being able to play different positions on the baseball field, football field, whatever it was for basketball. But yeah, I've always just been around sports my whole life.
So basically, Brian mentioned in the beginning, like you're a catcher. Did that start out in Little League or in high school? When did
Yeah,
you
believe it
start
or
to pick
not,
it up?
I was like the only guy that wanted to catch. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and my thought process was, look, I'm in every single play. I got a lot of control, so I play outfield, shortstop sometimes, and as a little kid, our attention span's not very big, so I was getting bored out there sometimes, and it wasn't until later on, I was 11, 12 that I started taking those other positions seriously, but like catching was always a fallback. But like in middle school, me and my best friend, he was a shortstop his whole life. I was a catcher. For some reason in middle school, we switched positions, and I was the shortstop and he was the catcher. Never went back to that, but that was just fun. It was fun to play those different positions and learn. Just helped me learn the game a lot more. That's for sure.
So when you were in high school, when did you realize that, hey, this is really going in the way I wanted to go? You're playing well. I mean, was it the first year? Did you make varsity right away? Like, what was that process for you?
I didn't make varsity right away. As a freshman, I just played JV. Freshman, I think we had a freshman team in my high school. We don't really have that here, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like me and my four boys. We were like, it was the core four is what we would call ourselves. And like we were playing with each other on every level. And I think it was like my sophomore, junior year where catching I started to stand out as a catcher. I was blocking the ball well, throwing the ball well. And then I took a spot from like a senior and I was just a catcher. And I never really concerned myself too much about hitting. Like, of course, that's a very big aspect. But my thing was that I brought so much more value to the team as a catcher and just being defensively sound where I would just save games with one block, and that's where I saw that's the importance that I'm bringing to these teams. And as I grew up and got older, I just saw how much more important it got. So, hitting was always, I always hit and I love to hit. Like there's no better feeling than barreling a ball up and watch it go over the fence. But, throwing a guy out from your knees is a pretty close second.
Yeah. So when you say core four, because with that time you say you're a Yankee fan, which I'm a Met fan, but anyway. Yeah. So was it that the core four, and you guys are kind of mimicking the Jeter, Sada, Bernie?
No, it wasn't even anything like that. I didn't think that much into it, to be honest. But we were always hanging out because we would always play baseball, and like we had to lose obviously some friends. You sacrifice some other friends who aren't playing sports, right? But it was always us four. We were always on the same teams, and we just loved the game. All four of us went on to play college ball. Only two of us stuck it out through and graduated playing, but that's life. That's what happens. Other priorities come up, but for me, that was always baseball. It was school baseball or family school baseball is how I looked at it. So I knew what I was there for in college and in high school and what I wanted to do. Like throughout high school, I was going to every camp there was, every college camp there was, or I think there was a DeMarini top 96 camp I went to as a young kid. And I was just trying to get my name out there. And that's what I like to reiterate to these kids. Like, go to these camps. I mean, I'm not telling you to spend lots of money on these camps because there's definitely camps out there that just want your money, no doubt. But I mean, if you send an email to a coach, say, hey, coach, I'm coming to your camp, really interested, coming to your school, whatever it may be, like that separates you. And then you go up and shake his hand. Those where I learned those little things like in high school, and they just carried over into college, into pro ball. And now in pro ball, it's like, I'll just go meet other coaches while I'm out there. And hopefully that'll turn into, maybe a winter ball job, or even if I get released from one team, I'll get another job right away because I make such an impact on all these people around me and create that network.
So when you were in high school, what led you to Pace? What did you have any other schools you were looking at you? Like what made that? How did you make that decision?
So it was like Fairfield, Marist were like the two D1 schools I was really interested in. I wanted to go there and I was really close to getting there. They ended up picking one guy ahead of me. Both schools, like same thing. Obviously a little discouraged, but I mean, I didn't let that stop me. And then it was Southern Connecticut and Pace University. I went on 2 overnights with them, one in each school. And, I actually thought I was going to go to Southern. I had an awesome overnight. It was really fun. I won't get into details, but, I was like, wow, college is cool. Like, this is going to be a lot of fun. But then they were going through like this struggle of a head coach. Their head coach had just gotten in trouble because he was like paying players to like work at his facility. Nothing in my eyes that was like, oh, that's not that. I didn't think it was a big deal. He was helping their kids out to make them money. But I guess that's a big no-no in the NCAA. So they didn't have a head coach. And now at Pace, when I went and talked to them, their head coach was a AAA catcher for the White Sox. His name's Hank Manning. I made that decision purely right there. I said, what's going to help me become a better catcher and get me where I want to be, get drafted out of college and become a very good catcher. Excuse me. But yeah, so that's really what it came down to was just the coaching staff. And I was blessed, I have an awesome coaching staff at Pace, it just took off. We gelled, everybody gelled together. And I was able to just pick his brain. He really taught me how to call a game. And even our pitching coach, his name was Grisha DeVita. Great guy. He's hilarious. But yeah, I learned a lot from those guys, just about the game, how to go about it, the professional attempt to it. I never heard of skip. I was like, why is he calling him skip? And then he'd be like, oh, that's what you call the managers, right? And like that was just going forward. Like I would hear younger guys in pro ball recently calling the head coach coach. And I'm like, hey, don't call him coach. Call him by his name or call him skip. Like we're at a level here where we're all grown men. So it's kind of a level of respect. You almost disrespect me, call him coach, like, and that I'm glad I learned that at an early age. So I didn't kind of get, embarrassed when it came to that stuff. I'm not saying everyone's, going to call you out or anything like that, but as baseball players, everyone likes to give each other a hard time, and it's all out of love. But yeah, that's what I learned a lot from it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned your the networking side of things. I just heard the story before we got on about you and David running into each other at a baseball field. Yeah. So you're playing in the league down in Fort Myers, and David was running this camp that he just did a few weeks back, and you guys crossed paths. So just it's a good advice, I think, to young players out there, like you're saying. You want to play somewhere, you want to get noticed, you want to take a look at the college level and get to the next level. Some of it's just
you got to sell yourself,
reaching out and asking, right?
Yeah.
And if you're a hard worker and you're a good player, obviously that's going to count too.
Yeah, of course.
But you've got to make yourself known, because there's thousands of other guys looking to do the same thing.
It's crazy that we had that conversation, because here I'm running the camp, and someone said, hey, someone wants to ask you a question. I went over, we just started like talking, and it just so happened that he played with a buddy of mine, Jason Bradford, in High Point. Bradford played, pro ball and stuff, and I'm like, wow, look at this small connection when you didn't even think about it.
Right, exactly. And that's what happened to me my first year in pro ball. Like I had gotten released after my first season, and all I did was just, I met some guys on the team. They liked how I played the game. They liked how I respected it. And as soon as I got released, they had both texted me and said, hey, I got a team for you. Hey, I got a team for you. So I was like, all right, sweet. So it was quick turnover. Every time I've gotten released, I've had quick turnover because I built those, those networks and those connections by just going to camps. Like I said, even in the professional world, like I was going to camps after college, just trying to meet everybody and learn the world of professional baseball. And then I found independent ball, and like that was just a game changer for me.
For sure. So you're at Pace. You play all 4 years at Pace.
Yeah, I started as a freshman, but I wasn't a catcher. You know what I mean? Okay. I swung it pretty well. And the coach was like, "You ever play outfield?" I just said, "Yeah." I played outfield Little League. I said, "Yeah, sure. You want me to play? I mean, I'll play left field. Sure." First game, I'm pretty sure I dropped the ball. Dropped it right on my fell right out. I think it was after I struck out. And I remember this to this day. His coach came up to me, and he was just like, "If you ever taken that bat out to the field again, you will never play for me again." And that stuck with me. And I said, "All right, enough said." And then I went on to become an all conference outfielder, utility player, and I just learned a lot about the game. I started playing center field, right field, and then once I got back to it, because I had knee injury my junior year in college. My right knee was always bugging me throughout my childhood and stuff like that. And eventually I told him it was shag and fly balls, but I won't lie. I was playing intramural football and I dove for a ball. I caught it, but I hit my knee on the ground pretty hard. And then I had to get a little reconstructive surgery. It wasn't too bad, but I had rushed the surgery back, and like I didn't want to miss games. So it was supposed to be a 6-month recovery. I got back in 4, and I was literally limping on and off the field. But, I had the best season of my career. I hit 345, 6 homers in a wood bat conference, and that was strictly just me playing outfield. And, I think if I was catching during that year and I had the similar year, I think it might be a different story of where my path took me. But, everything happens for a reason. So, I know what it's like to be really successful at the plate, and now it's just trying to find that same groove and get back to that.
You make a great point. Well, let me say one thing. You make a great point, because your example, and I'm going to show this to the kids on my team when this is done, because I tell them now, 13, 15U, that camp that I had, right? I tell them all, you're a utility ball player. Yeah, you learn every single position. You get to high school, hey, coach, where can I play? What do you need me? Wherever you need me. Where do you play? Yeah. Don't say you're just a catcher, just a first baseman, because that position may not be open for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a prime example. You went to college, and you know what? You just said anywhere, and you got on the field.
Mm-hmm. And it was cool. I mean, it just teaches you more about the game. You think about, all right, now I'm looking at, now I'm listening to the bat. So okay, I can hear that ball's crushed. Let me turn my back and run. Or that ball's like, it's a fist job or off the end of the bat. I can hear those, especially in a wood bat conference. A little bit more difficult with the metal bats these days, but you can still hear the difference. You can see the swings. It just makes you lock in a little bit more. And that's what I'm trying to reiterate to the guys like I'll work with now. I'm like, listen, dude, you said you're just a third baseman. Like, there's 4 other spots in the infield, 3 other spots in the infield. Learn them all and then go play the outfield. Like, just be an athlete, At the end of the day, ball goes in the air, go catch it. I mean, keep it simple, and
no, that's right. I was thinking the same thing David was thinking. We thought of the same question as often happens at the same time. But yeah, I mean, these kids. I mean, it's funny because where David was talking about his team and my son, he's 7, and they rotate. They rotate positions, and everybody has their favorites to play. But at that young age, you try to learn every position and what you need to do at those positions. So. I mean, it doesn't really go away. I mean, yeah, kids will specialize a little bit more as they go on, but if you're good, if you could fill in wherever is needed, you're way more valuable.
Exactly. That's my big thing is the value. What value do you bring to the team? And I think a lot of guys get caught up in these numbers like we were talking about earlier. And, value doesn't necessarily have numbers all the time. You could be butting guys over, first and second, and like, yes, that goes down as a sack bunt, but sometimes they don't, depending on the situations. First and third, whatever it is, or even hitting a ground ball to the infield, running, getting those runners over. That doesn't go down as a sack hit, like that's an out. Yep. You're out. You go 0 for 1 now, rather than sack fly or sack bunt. Like that's that ball that you battled in that bat to go 2-2, 3-2, fouling a couple balls off. Now you hit a ground ball to the right side, get that runner over third. That was a run on third and 1 out.
That's a productive bat, and nobody sees that anymore. Nobody sees the productive at bats.
Right.
That's a productive.
They don't see the ball.
Quality at bats.
They don't see the ball hit off the end of the bat, dips in for a base hit. That makes your average go up, but to them, your velo wasn't good enough. So so you're not good enough. But meanwhile, I'm batting 800, but my velo is not good enough because I'm not hitting the ball as hard as everyone else hits it. So that whole numbers thing drives me nuts.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you got to make the other guys make the plays. Baseball's not easy. You put the ball in play, good things happen. I've always said that, and I've witnessed that thousands of times. And I've also seen, you hit barrels, you're out most of the time. Not most of the time, but a lot of the time, you barrel the ball up, and it's hit right at somebody. Right. So we make jokes about it and say, hey, less barrels, more hits. That's going to impact the game a little bit more. So, there's just so many ways to get on base, so many ways to score runs. It's just about figuring out different ways to do it. Because it can't always come from the long ball, especially if you don't have a team that has guys like that, because that's not an easy thing to do.
For sure. Now, David and I have a little experience with this because we both grew up in up north. He's from New York. I'm from Michigan. So, but we live in Florida, and our kids are growing up in Florida. So, what advice do you have, or can you give us a little bit of a breakdown on what it's like to play baseball in a cold weather state, growing up, playing in a cold weather state, and this time of year, that spring time of year,
right?
Did you guys this is a 2-part question, but I'm thinking, did you guys come down south?
Yes, we had like a spring training down in Winter Haven, Florida. I think we played like
near me.
Yeah, and that's where everything was nice. Everyone's feeling good, it's warm, and then we go back and it's snowing.
Right. So
like my freshman year, we didn't even have a home field because it was under construction, this and that, whatever it was. But after that, we had gotten turf field. So we're thinking, all right, this is great until, games coming and practice coming, and half of practice is shoveling the field off. Like there's some people never even do stuff like, they take care of the tarps, they take care of the field like that. But like when I grew up, it was kind of like, it's so cold. Like we didn't take care of the fields throughout the year. They got really bad. The fields were gross, in the off season, and you had to wait until like the weather got better, and that was part of it. And then going to college, I'm like, damn, we have to shovel these fields off first. So we're out there for an hour and a half shoveling the field, and then we're like, all right, let's go play baseball. And then your hands are freezing cold, and it was a lot of adjusting, and you figure things out. A couple of guys would have those quarterback hand warmers things. Me as a catcher, I always saw that as a positive, and it was a plus because I had gear on all the time, and I was sweating no matter what. So
right.
I mean, it was a struggle, no doubt, especially playing in a wood bat conference and something like that. Like you get that one stinger off the inside of you get jammed. That bat was tough to keep going forward with, but
Yeah.
I think it built us. It shaped us to be stronger men. And we were able to deal with more adversity because, playing pro ball, you play in the summer all the time. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I moved to Florida, so.
Yep. Well, no, I get it. It's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that if you think so you're I'll let David jump in with the next one, but we're gonna keep going with your story.
Sure.
Yeah. So you graduated, I believe, college in 2018, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So you kind of went undrafted. So then you started playing independent baseball. You kind of mentioned a little bit about that. Give us a little more information. How did that really get started? Like, where did you go?
Yeah. So when I graduated, I made all the phone calls. I was a little disappointed I missed the draft. I was talking to some teams, but it didn't go my way. Whatever. Got over it, and I said, okay, what are we gonna do? I'm either gonna hang it up or I'm gonna keep trying to play baseball. And I heard a lot of good things about independent ball, and I knew that beforehand. Part of me was like, oh, I'm too good to play independent ball, this and that, and I didn't know what it was about. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, if I have to do that, then that stinks. But like, then I learned about it, and I'm like, damn, there's some dudes that play independent ball. There are dudes all over the place. And all these guys that you think are gone, like they're still playing, and this is a competitive baseball. This is a real deal. So I went to a bunch of camps. There was this one called Florida Minor League Camp, run by Nick Belmonte. I went to that a couple times. And that's where I started to really make my connection. So they knew who I was, and they're like, oh, we're trying to get you a job. But at the end of the day, it was all about a pitcher that I played with at Pace. He was pitching for the Cleburne Railroaders at the time in the American Association. I was telling him I was looking to play, and he called me one day. He said, hey, we need a catcher. Our catchers just went down. If you can fly yourself out here, we'll give you a spot on the team. I said, okay. I looked up flights, like $800, but like whatever. I knew what I was investing in. So flew down there, caught like the first 14 games in a row. And that's what I was mentioning earlier, where I just met some guys who liked the way I played. And, some guys are like, oh, you should be playing double A. Like you can play like this and that. And, that just happens, I heard that a lot in my time. Oh, you could definitely play affiliated. You should be doing this and that. But at the end of the day, like those things didn't happen. And I appreciate them saying things like that, no doubt, because I believe that too. But I needed to prove that to other people, So, yeah, I just made that one connection. Playing, it's just about who you know. He gave me a call. I made a name for myself. Had a pretty good season as I think I was 21 at the time. So I was younger than American Association is generally an older league. So everyone I was playing with was, 25 to 54, actually. I played with Rafael Palmeiro, was on the team when I got there. So that was really cool to see him. He's 54 and BP putting balls out to right field like it was nothing. And I'm like, dude, this is some awesome baseball that I'm here. And it was such a professional atmosphere at Cleburne, just new stadium, new clubhouse, training facilities were all state of the art. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. But it was another situation where they didn't really have a manager. They had the bench coach was their acting manager, and at the end of the year, the team was bought out, and we all got released. Majority of us got released. But as soon as that happened, Cam Monger and Sean Blackwell, they both reached out for me to these two teams in the Frontier League, and whatever, the Florence Freedom called me first, so I took that. As soon as I got something, I said, yeah, let's go, I'm in. So I played in Florence Freedom that next year in 2019 with Dennis Pelfrey, and just fell in love with the game again in the whole process. But then I had a crazy injury that year that really tested me. Well, I was third base, it was first and third. Guy gets caught in a rundown, so I'm on third. It wasn't the best base running, I won't lie. I was out, but I go home and the catcher's standing there and his legs are open, and I see home plate behind it, and I'm not the type of person or player to just give an out away. So I'm like, all right, if you want this out, like you're gonna have to earn it. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna look at the shortstop as he's running at me, and I'm just gonna shoot between his legs and try to slide under. And well, when that happened, he had closed his legs up, and I hit him with my head, and like my neck kind of went down like this, and I had suffered a C5 burst fracture. So I was paralyzed on the ground for 30 seconds or so. Felt like there was like magnets on my body connected to the ground. I couldn't feel anything. It was really scary, no doubt. One of the scariest things I've ever been through. And went to the ICU, had emergency surgery, spent 3 days in the hospital, and was in a neck brace for 12 weeks after that. And they had fused my neck. I have like a scar. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they went through the front here. But yeah, then I was just turned off to baseball. I was like, what am I? Why did this happen to me? It was why would this happen? Whatever. It was the lowest of my life for sure. And I started coaching out of college. I coached at Albertus Magnus. I got the neck brace off like on my birthday. So I was starting to feel better, but like I had lost all my upper body strength where I couldn't do a push up off the ground on my knees. Like I lost all my lat function, my tricep. I couldn't lift my arm up above my head. Where it was like I would just have to work and like breathe through it, like holding a lounge chair like this, and eventually getting here. And I still suffer from that lat not working as well. But as soon as I got that brace off, I gave myself two options where I could dwell on it and kind of hang it up and just start coaching, or I can use it as an opportunity to say, okay, well, let's start from scratch then. Let's get our body moving the right way so that we don't deal with these other little injuries that I've dealt with throughout the career, little hamstring pulls, quad pulls, groin, whatever it is. Let's do some research and figure out the right ways to move and how to train the right way and build that strength back. And I chose that one. And, I wouldn't change a thing. Even though that was a tough time in my life, that shaped me as a man. And that showed me adversity and how to fight through something that's, nobody's heard of. You make that joke or saying all the time, don't slide head first, you break your neck. Well, I did it. And like that's something that I am always reiterating to these kids. Like, listen, you're going to home plate, close play, just slide with your feet, or make sure you're way away from the catcher if you're going to do that. Sure. Yeah, and then it was just from there. It was I went back to Florence, and that 2020 happened where it was COVID. So I kind of didn't miss much time. Nobody was playing, so I used it, and I was like, let's just go for it. Played in the men's league, and then there was like this. It was called the Battle of the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky with Florence. It was when the Florence Freedom changed to the Florence Y'alls. Went out there, started playing again. Hit a home run. I'm like, I can do this. I'm getting back to it. My strength wasn't there, but I was like, I can still hit a ball over the fence. Like, I don't need to lift all these heavy weights all the time and put my body through all that stress. Like, I'm understanding ways to train now that me as a catcher, the best ability for me is availability. And if I can't play 100 plus games a season, then I don't bring as much value to the table. So I started this new training method is called GOATA Locomotive Systems, right? And they're based in Louisiana, I believe. And I hired a GOATA coach, and I got to it. And I was obsessed with it. It was every step I took, I understood what I was doing. And I was just obsessed with getting my body to be in the right place and, getting the strength back, but at the same time, focusing on the mobility side of it and being able to catch 9 innings day after day after day after day. And, just saying, okay, if I have to play 6 games in a row, then I'm going to play, and I can do that because I put my body through these tests and kind of learn from all that. So, I've done the different types. I know we were talking about like training stuff. Like that is the difference maker for me was starting this GOATA stuff. It really just changed how I looked at how to train. And it was more about movements rather than maxes. I didn't care about lifting all this heavy weight off the ground or putting this heavy weight on my back or bench pressing so much weight, because at the end of the day, when I'm playing 100 games in a season, I'm not doing any of that. Mm-hmm. I'm out there just being mobile. I'm in a squat position. So let me just squat every single day. I don't need a lot of weight. I'll put a weighted vest on and like, I'll do squats like that, or I'll do a lot of crawls. So I'm just being fluid with my movements. And once I kind of like really bought into all that and just understood what my body wants to do and stopped going away from it, like everything else just started to click again. And so, I give a lot of my credit to those like teachings of that. And, granted, I had to put a lot of work in for that. It was every single day. It was 2+ hours of me just being focused on my movements. Talking about my feet and like little feels that people don't talk about a lot. They just say, I just moved the weight. And, having the right form when you do something. And once I figured out like, hey, this is so important, like these little things go so far, like I can feel the ground now. And guess what? Like now I can feel the ground when I'm in the box or when I'm catching, and it's like just using those tools from all different aspects and bringing it into baseball. I was able to say, okay, well, let me bring stuff from baseball into real life. And that's just about like the failing side of it, and staying positive. It's so easy to get upset when you strike out 3 times. That's the easiest thing in the world to do is throw your bat and get pissed off. But it's really hard to stay calm and say, okay, I get another one. I'm going to get another one. I'm going to get his ass. Eventually, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. And I believe that. And that's like my big thing about trying to teach these kids, because this game's so negative. It's the most negative game in the world. You fail 7 out of 10 times and you're the best. So like I feel like nobody understands that. In BP, I'm hitting with high school kids, and they're dropping F-bombs every other swing because they're popping it up or rolling over. I'm like, dude, who cares? This is practice. This is for you to get those out. Just understand the feel and see how fast you can make an adjustment. And, that's where I'm like, when you're taking the same swing over and over and expecting something else to happen, that's the definition of insanity, It's just about making those little adjustments and understanding, okay, I felt this, let me feel that. Boom, feel that. Okay, nice. Okay, I forgot about my legs here. Let me throw this in here, legs and that. Boom, all those all connected. That was a really good swing. But like telling myself that too. I do a good job now of when I'm hitting, I don't say any negative words. If I take a bad swing or I roll over a ball, nothing comes out of my mouth. I don't say anything. I hit the plate, I get back in there. If I hit a good one, you'll hear me be like, yes, that's it right there. Or like just little positive affirmations, because in the long run, those are going to play off, in a long season. God, it's frustrating sport, no doubt. But like, if you can be like, all right, hey man, I got tomorrow. We went 0 for 4. We lost today. Can't do anything about it now. Let's come back tomorrow and get after it. Take it one at a bat at a time, one pitch at a time. So, just going through that injury had taught me so much about having to stay positive and not just be so negative and, feel bad for myself. Eventually I had to tell myself, dude, get out of your own way. You're a great player. I'm a great player. Like, trust it and trust that you're doing everything in my power that is going to make me be successful. I say it a lot to the kids. I say, put yourself in a position to be successful. And if you can't do that, then that's the first battle. That's the first step into becoming a better baseball player and a better person, is to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gone out late last night, hung out with the boys when we had a game at 10 o'clock in the morning. Maybe I should have went to bed a little earlier and got to the field maybe at 8:30 instead of 9:30 right before the game starts. Yeah, I wasn't warmed up. I wasn't locked in. Like, those are all things we can control, and I'm a big believer in worry about what we can control. And those two things that stand out to me are your effort and your attitude. And those two things we can always control no matter the situation. We can't control when we hit a barrel at somebody. It goes at them. That's it. That's over. Like, we can't do anything after that. So I learned that a lot just through that one injury, because I was feeling bad for myself. I was depressed, and I was like, listen, no one's going to get you out of this except you. So I had to, take that big step and get myself out of it. And every day I think about it, but I think about how I came out on the other side of it and made such a positive direction in the right steps.
The one thing that Brian and I are thinking about at the same time is you said something, and we're gonna let you know what it is. You said GOATA, okay?
Right.
And in 2019, we had Ricky Stanzi of GOATA, and
kind
of everything that you just described. So that's a pure success story of what he shared with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how everything, your success story, because after that surgery, and I mean, I didn't know you had that surgery. We didn't know if you have that surgery like that and go through all that, come back and still play another season of baseball, catching, going forward. I mean, that's
it's been 3 years now since the injury. So like, and I just get better and better every day, and I just get stronger. So.
Well, that speaks, to not only it speaks, of course, to the program, the GOATA program, and what Ricky talked with us about. This is like a real endorsement of it. But also, it also speaks to your personal determination.
Yeah.
Right. Most people would get an injury like that and they'd be like, I'm done.
I was like that. I was that for a while.
But they would have stayed that way.
Yeah. It was just when I started coaching and I'm around these guys and I say,
right,
am I really going to let this one injury tell me that my career's over as a baseball player? I'm in control of that. So I'm going to take everything in my power to get me back to where I got to be and just get better than I ever was.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So, you come back from this injury and, you're back playing independent ball. Like, where do you see yourself? I mean, is the goal to get signed by an affiliate? Is that your true goal? Is that something you really want?
That is the goal.
Trying to get that?
That's a goal I've had in mind since I was a little kid. And then since being independent baseball has shown me the possibilities of that and how I've gotten so much experience in just the past 2 years that as a catcher, everything has gotten so much better. Just my having good relationship with the pitchers, understanding the pitcher catcher relationship, receiving the ball, blocking the ball, throwing the ball, just learning from all these other guys that I'm around. Like, I'm playing with guys with AAA experience, playing in the Mexican League, and some big leaguers I'm catching. And I'm like, damn, you can see the difference. I had the opportunity in 2021 to catch David Robertson, Edwin Jackson, and those guys were just electric. And one of our closers, Ryan Dole, he one of the best sliders in the game. Literally throws 2 pitches and they're both nasty. And you can just get anybody out. You can tell them it's coming, they're not going to hit it. And just to see how those guys work and see what they do, it's just like anything's possible, you know. Like Robertson was playing with us because he was, I think, getting ready for the, I think, Olympics at the time in 21.
Okay.
And then the next year he's in the World Series. And he's closing out the World Series games. And I'm like, this is sick, dude. I just caught this. I grew up watching this guy pitch for the Yankees, and now I'm catching him. And they make mistakes just like everyone else. I think he threw me a 50-foot curveball that I had to block up, and I ate it, and I blocked it up. I'm like, let's go. And threw it back to him. I'm like, okay, he's human too. You know, it's just played with Logan Morrison last year, and that guy's an awesome dude. And just to watch him and like what he goes through, the battles in his head about how he hits, but he like, it was just cool to watch all these guys work. And, you know, that's a 10-year big leaguer, and he's shooting the shit with the rest of us in the clubhouse like nothing, you know? And, you know, we would hang out a lot, and I learned a lot from him just about the game and as a person, like what you get from it. And yeah, the goal is to always get back there. And now that I'm getting a little older, I understand the different roles I might play there. Maybe I'm not necessarily going to be a guy that's going to come in and start every game.
So we talked a little bit about, you know, that you're training through the GOATA system to kind of rehab yourself especially as a catcher. But the job of a catcher, the role of a catcher in a game is just, it's really the captain. You know, you're kind of the captain of the field there.
Yeah.
You know, from a mental standpoint, you're dealing with the pitcher, you're dealing with the psychological part with the hitter, and then base runners and everything else. Can you share with us a little bit about your approach to and your advice for young people looking to catch?
Yeah. My biggest thing with all that and the mental side of it is you have to take it one pitch at a time. Pre-pitch, have to kind of understand, okay, what the situation is. If there's nobody on base, there's guys on base. If that guy can run a little bit, who's on deck plays a big role too. So you know who the hitter is. If you got a guy that can swing a bat in the second and third, 2 outs, he's been really hot. Maybe you pitch around him a little. You got a base open to work with, and the guy behind him's not as strong of a hitter. So like there's those thoughts that kind of have to go into it, where you just know the game at all times, you know. But when you go from knowing who's on deck to who's in the box, it all plays a role into the game, you know. And going back to just taking everything one pitch at a time, and when you can do that, you can slow the game down. And once you can slow the game down, you know, then that's where you'll really see a lot of success, because as you go up in levels, the game does speed up on you. And if you can't slow it down, then you're going to be in over your head. And a lot of what helps me with that is just learning how to breathe, you know, and just taking those big, deep breaths to slow my heart rate down, especially in big situations when I'm catching. And, you know, like I said, a guy on third base, and if there's any dirt balls, like that's my job. I got to smother those things, no matter how bad of a pitch it is, you know. At the end of the day, yeah, there's some that most people don't expect you to block or get in front of, but I mean, hey, what if you do? You know, you might just change the game, save your boy. That's what being a team is about, you know, just picking up your teammates when, you know, I guess adversity hits you in the face. So, you know, I saw a lot of success of that last year, and I liked what I was doing, and I'm looking forward to continuing that.
You're the general on the field anyway. I'm sorry, you're the general on the field. So basically, you know, you're the guy that you make the pitcher look good when he throws a bad pitch. You know, you block it, you save the run. You know, as much as you need a pitcher, you need a catcher. And the catchers, I always say, I tell my kids, catcher, pitcher, shortstop, center field, I need you guys to control the field.
Right.
I need you guys to take over and be the generals, because you're going to help everybody else and lead everybody else.
And that goes with like controlling the pitcher too. Yeah. I mean, like knowing different pitchers and what they respond to. Like there's some pitchers where you can tell them, hey man, you're kind of being soft. Let's go, get in the game. And the other ones you got to be like, hey, it's okay. Like, you know, you can do it. Trust yourself. Like, it's just how you got to talk to people, you know. It's about knowing your audience and who those guys are, like what they can take. And I think I've got a good judge of character where I can figure those things out. Like I was saying, some pitchers would shake me off and throw a certain pitch and, you know, be a nasty pitch, but like the timing wasn't right for that pitch. The way their swings were set up where they hit a double and then they're like, yo, what was that pitch? That was pretty good, right? I said, dude, it was a great spot, but it was the wrong time. And, you know, it happened again, and eventually stop it. Just like, it hasn't worked for you, so let's move somewhere else. Why don't you just listen to me and trust me? And then from there on, he didn't shake me off, and we had a pretty successful season. So, you know, I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm always learning, and I know that. But, you know, sometimes I know more than these pitchers because, Sometimes they're just throwers, and sometimes they're really good and they can just throw and not think. I tell them that all the time. I say, listen, let me do the thinking, you do the throwing. That's it. See what my glove is, throw it there. And some go different ways. Some guys know what they're doing more than I know. So I'm like, okay, listen, you call it. If you shake, I don't care. Ready? But like, it's just having those conversations and knowing, you guys are on the same team. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I'm trying to make you look good. And same vice versa. Like I think a catcher is the best when you don't even know he's there. When balls are just blocked, easy, back to the pitcher. Not when he's running around, going after every ball, regardless if the pitcher's throwing strikes or not. I mean, a good catcher will be able to control the game and those things. And when stuff starts to, hit the fan, like you're able to minimize and control that pitcher and calm him down and say, listen, get back in the zone. One pitch right here, you throw a fastball in right here, he's going to pop it up right out of the inning. And like just giving them little senses of hope like that. I've seen that work so many times where, it happens just like that, or it's a weak ground ball. And I'm like, look, see, that's all you got to do. They're going to get themselves out. Like hitting is one of the hardest things to do in all of baseball, especially at that next level. So sometimes we give hitters a little too much credit as pitchers and catchers. So, sometimes you're going to give up bombs. That's just part of it. That's all part of it. And the sooner you can understand and accept that, like the farther your career will go. And that's what I believe.
So as a young person, you would say, study the game. Right.
Study the game. Play MLB the show. See how many no-hitters you can throw in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did that a lot, and it teaches you a lot. I mean, a computer is a computer, but like same thing.
Simulate a game. Yeah.
Just the more baseball you play, the better you're gonna get.
Right.
The kids all the time, I say, play MLB the show. It'll show you where you need to be on the field since you don't want to listen to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing, putting yourself in good positions, right? Like knowing where the next play is. I got high school kids that don't know where the next play is. They don't know how many outs there are. And that's like one of those things like, though we can control those things. We can control that. Yeah. We know there's 2 outs. Or we know there's 1 out. Maybe I shouldn't move this ball back to the mound after he strikes him out because there's 2 out, or there's only 2 outs now. And I've seen that a lot. And it's all focus. It's all lack of focus what happens because the game is a little bit slower than most games. So it's easy to check in and out. But it's about checking in at the right times. Like after the pitch, cool, check out for a second. Especially if you're playing the infield. Move some dirt around, boom. As soon as the pitcher toes that rubber, lock back in. And, that's where I see like the really good players, they can do that. They can turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. Because 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever a game is a long time to stay completely locked in. So those times that you get that downtime in the dugout, whatnot, whatever it is, take it, And I'm not saying go out there and, talk to fans or anything like that, but I'm just saying take a breath, breathe a little bit, take a sip of water. Don't have to think about what your last at bat happened. Give it some time, And timing is a big thing too with that. When I talk to my pitchers, if they had a bad inning, I'm not going to go up to them right after that bad inning. I'm going to let them sit on it a little bit. 2 innings later, maybe I'll go, hey, so what were you feeling today? Like, he's like, this wasn't working, this wasn't. But like, I know as a hitter, if someone comes up to me and say, hey man, what were you doing right after I strike out? I'm telling that guy to get out of my face. Dude, leave me alone. Right. But if you do that 2 innings later, hey, so what are you feeling? Your swings look good, but you chase that one. Like you're able to have more of a conversation. That's why that timing and just timing in general in the game of baseball is everything. Timing pitches, timing your body movements, and then timing of how you talk to your teammates. And all that goes so far. And if you can master that and kind of start to understand that, your time in this game will be a lot longer.
Let me ask you a question. So you're entering this season. You were signed again by the High Point Rockers.
Yep.
So that, congratulations. What are your goals for this year and your ambitions for the season? Like, what do you want to accomplish, and what would you like to happen at the end of the season?
Well, number one is I want to bring back championships to High Point. We got really close last year, lost in the championship series. We were right there. We shouldn't have even been there. Somewhat people say, we should have lost in that first round of playoffs, but you know what? We shocked everybody else, and then after that, it kind of fell apart. But, personally, I want to keep doing what I'm doing behind the plate and keep controlling this pitching staff. I have grown a lot and matured as a baseball player, and to be able to kind of sometimes I didn't like confrontation a lot. And, I'm not saying that I go out there and have it, but, I trust my abilities a lot more now. And I understand that what I'm doing is right a lot of the time. And that what I'm thinking, what my gut tells me is usually what I should do. So, this year I'm just going to listen to my gut a lot more. I don't like to put numbers on like what I want to hit, how many homers, what I average. I don't like doing that because I feel like that is so much of a disappointment if you don't get to where you're going to go. Because like I said, a lot is what you can't control. I can't control all these I can control the barrel part of it. I can't control if it drops. I can't control if it gets over the fence. I can't control that. So I'm not going to worry about that. This season I'm going to control about, I'm going to have good at bats. I'm going to have quality at bats. I'm going to barrel up as many balls as I can. Just hit baseballs hard all over the field, and call good games and throw the ball well. Throw the ball with authority and conviction. Sometimes I think a little bit too much about what could go wrong rather than what can go right. So, those are big goals for me this year. Focus on what can go right and how right it can go, and not being afraid to make a great play. Like I said, I'm just going to get out of my own way this year and just play free and have fun. That's my big, have fun and win. Those are my goals.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely wish you a great season ahead. We really look forward to seeing, we're hoping that you could achieve some of your goals this year.
Yeah.
And get the recognition that you're hoping for, because everything we've learned about you, it's you've got a great attitude about the game, you've got a great work ethic, and you've really battled back. It's very admirable to some of the things that you've been able to do.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And we admire definitely your determination to keep playing and keep learning and keep focused on the game. Great lesson to all these young players out there. They're trying to.
If you
do
can have
something.
a job playing baseball, that's a pretty good job to me. Going to the field every day, hanging out with your boys,
Right.
and playing some baseball. Nothing beats that to me. So I'm going to do everything in my power to keep that a reality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's been great.
Well, we appreciate it, Mike, and we're going to look forward to keep in touch with us over the season. We'd like to know how things are going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to announce this podcast is sponsored by eZip Mortgage, and we also have a new sponsor with DC3 Bat Company. And DC3 Bat Company is actually owned by one of our previous guests, and Dalton Cornett, who was on a few shows ago, and he's started an amazing company. He told us our story on our podcast, so check that out. It's a few podcasts back. We'll make sure that we repost that just to let you know about that company as well. But we've got and we're also our Legends on Deck store. I like to wear my hat around town. So if you get a chance to get on there, make an order, support what we're doing over here, and we can interview great guys like Mike, and keep that going.
So, and we're also going to share Mike's information so that you can follow High Point Rockers and
absolutely.
If you guys want to follow the Instagram page, I just started up. It's called Gulino Baseball. I'll be throwing.
We will. We'll make sure to have all that in our posts as well. So send us anything that we can include to promote you and what you're doing throughout the season.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Guys, well, thank you. This is episode 32. We're moving along. We're getting the episodes up, and we appreciate Mike being here. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show.